hands together for Barrister Ajibola.
I want to talk about law. It might be a bit boring, but I'll try my best not to make it boring. I know it's been fun, and what you guys do is about entertainment. I mean, Mr. Tayo just left here, edutainment, a mixture of education and entertainment. The aspect of our discussion is a bit or somewhat sensitive, but I'll ride on what the last two persons have said. Mr. Emmanuel said something about you not being able to do it alone. The same thing Mr. Tayo said, that you need partnership. It is on those two notes that I want to mention why I guess I'm standing here. What they're trying to say is that you need a team for you to succeed. And in building that team, you can't do without a member of your team who has an idea of what the law says and how to go about your business. There should be a mixture of Muslims and Christians in this hall. Our lives is regulated by law, even starting from the very onset when God created Adam. The first directive given to Adam was, don't go here, don't touch this. And perhaps that's what led to all of us being here. There was a violation of a simple law, which means when law is violated, there's always a consequence. This gathering is for us to understand what the law is about what you do and how to avoid those consequences, and how to also make the best of what you do, because there are two sides of it. If I go back to the very beginning, if Adam and Eve had complied with the directive, they will most likely continue to enjoy whatever is there they were enjoying without the consequence. But in violating, we're here. I mean, we're all complaining Tinubu days and whatnot, Buhari's days. We don't know who's coming next. So life hasn't always been glossy because there was a violation of a law. My meeting with you is to have you guys understand some aspect of the laws that regulate what you guys do as content creators. I was very excited when I learned that about 40 students were going to be here, or maybe 40 participants. That's why I waited. I've been here since about 10 o'clock. I'm meant to discuss navigating the legal minefield of digital creativity in Nigeria with you. In order to do this, I think I put up about 8 items. First, an introduction. Second, a question. Did you know? The third, the law of contracts. The fourth, the legal minefield itself. The fifth, data protection. The sixth, protecting intellectual property and trademarking. 7, intellectual property as collateral. And then we'll conclude with questions. Now let me start with the introduction. The introduction is basically that, I mean, if I look at this hall, the demographic is about, say, 20 to about 35. Average, that's an average. So even if you go outside that bracket, I'm just using an average. Now with this average being 20 to 35, we're looking at university graduates or someone who's just about finishing their university program. What did we go to university for? To become an entrepreneur, one way or the other, eke out a living for yourself. In order to do so, one thing I've realized is that most Nigerian youths are beginning to eke out a living for themselves without necessarily to wait for jobs. And I believe 90% of everyone here, that's what we are. We're trying to make out a living for ourselves. Now the idea is content creation, which is the basic reason why we're here, has become another revenue generating platform for Nigerians. About 1956, Nigeria found crude oil. We started exploration. We abandoned agriculture around 1970. Agriculture used to be the mainstay. We had cocoa plantation, we have the groundnut pyramid, then we moved to crude oil, and then we abandoned agriculture. But in as much as we're having all of this going from one point to another, I even remember as far as 1970, Gowon said, Nigeria's problem is not that we don't have money. Our problem is how do we spend it. So there was so much that Nigeria had, but we're having problem managing those resources. And it got to a point, so much so that the money from crude oil were building institutions, and Nigeria was having a lot, but we were not managing the growth of the population. And that's why we have so much resources today, yet we have hunger. Now, for Nigerians who are not able to get jobs, we've started to find a way for ourselves, and this is what led us to content creation as a crude. In fact, I think about 2 weeks ago, or perhaps last week, Afrexim Bank hosted their annual general meeting, and one of the side events was a symposium where D'banj and Funke Akindele were there to discuss crude content as the new crude, meaning the new basis for us to get money, moving away from crude oil and agriculture, is content, which is what you guys have. The beauty of it, of what you have compared to crude, is that crude is managed by federal government. So even if there's crude oil in your compound, that crude oil is owned by the federal government. You don't have power over it. But the content in your own mind, federal government cannot take it. Are you seeing the difference between these two resources? The crude that we have under the soil, federal government has power over it. The Mineral Act and Petroleum Act regulates it. But the content in your own mind, in your own imagination, in your own creative intellect is yours. You regulate it, you have power over it. That's why we call it intellectual property. You have power over that. So that's the distinction. Yet, because you have power over it doesn't mean it's not regulated. That doesn't mean there are no problems that are going to arise out of it. And that's why we're having this discussion. Now, having had that introduction, in view of the fact that yes, we're trying to eke out new living for ourselves, but if you have seen several contents, I follow as many content creators as possible. I know what Prashagi does, I know what Timi Delot does, I know what Lai Wasabi does, and I know there are some areas where people do questionnaire and do what they call sampling of questions. Now, in the course of creating your content, other people have rights. You have rights to your intellectual ideas. What you do affects some other persons. How do you make money from it? How do you relate with the people within your own team? Your videographer, your script writer, the guy you employ to hold the camera. All these guys, how do you relate with all these people such that you will be successful as a content creator? Now, the starting point, I put it here. Did you know? If you look at, there's an inverted comma in the word skit there. I remember when Nigerian music started to bloom. I mean, what we tag Afro hip hop. I used to live in Lagos as well. Two-Face, Blackface, and Face, they formed the Plantation Boys. Then there was Remedies, Idris Abdulkarim, Tetuila, and Tony Montana. They used to live not so far from my end, and then Ray Power. So when I saw the word skit in Two-Face's album, in fact, when I was called for this event, content creation, it dawned on me that the word skit that we use now started from music in an album. So if you go check maybe like Two-Face's Grass to Grace album, the first track is a skit. The one he said, MC Akatwa, and I mean, they come here today, he just said, those things he said in the first track could come into an audio visual, which is what you guys do today to put on TikTok and IG and YouTube. So the word skit had started long before now, as far back as around 1999, 1997, 98, 99, when the Two-Face era of Plantation Boys and Remedies, when they started. So I just put it there that in music album, the word skit had already originated before we now have it into what you guys have in audio visuals. Then we progressed to the days of Mark Angel and some other skit makers before we now, the idea of content creation blossomed during the COVID era, and we have almost everyone doing the business. Now, there are several legal battles that usually happen in content creation world. I just put a little hint of what can lead into the idea of what problems arise from content creation. The first one there is the Digital Rights Lawyers Initiative. In the year 2000, I mean, for those who have left university and they're going to serve, NYC, in 2000, they tried to publish a book, like a diary that reflects different corpus. The Lawyers Initiative took it up, that they didn't obtain their consent. NYC didn't obtain their consent before they published that journal, which reflects information, data, personal images of those persons that were published. The case was in court, and the digital rights lawyers won that case in 2000. Sabinus and Friesland, I don't know if you guys are aware that Sabinus had a case with Friesland. Friesland is a manufacturer of pig milk. And I'm sure you know that Sabinus came up with one tagging called something huge. You're all aware about that tagline, something huge. Pig Milk advertised, they made an advert. They were trying to launch a breakfast program, and then they said something huge is coming. That's what led to that battle between Sabinus and Friesland. Friesland said Sabinus had not trademarked the name, the word, something huge. But Sabinus has started the process of registration. I'm giving you the gist because I'm involved in the case. Yeah? He had started the registration. The case is still ongoing. One part of it in Lagos, one part of it in Abuja. And I'm sure you guys know that Sabinus is a very renowned content creator. So I'm using his case to give you a hint of where legal issues can arise. Right? So that's Sabinus' own. Then there's the case of Trinity Guy. I don't know if all of you know him, but there's this guy, I think in Ibadan. He's a content creator as well. He used to do social experiments. He'll go about, he'll pour water on someone, and then watch how they react, and then give them money at the end of the day. Now, those people he pours water on, right? If it's not scripted, if it's genuinely a social experiment, there are several ways those people can react. Can sue them for assault. They can sue him for assault. He can, I mean, there's so many things. Now, the specific reason why I put him here was the case involving a child that I asked to identify a private organ, the color of a private organ. That case was no joke. Now, you have ideas, but you must think through your idea. What are the implications of this idea that I have? How do I execute it and still make money and be safe from either being prosecuted or either being charged for defamation? The next one is the Unique Pikin against Ganduje. These guys are based in Kano. I don't know if you know them as well. The Unique Pikin guys tried to do like a caricature image of Ganduje collecting dollars and all of that. So they were prosecuted as well. The Kano State ban. Recently, there's been a ban on content creators filming on the highway in Kano. Right? So you're a content creator and you want to go all out. You want to show people that you are skillful or that you have ideas in your head. But you must be able to regulate that idea within the framework of the law. Because, I mean, on the highway is a very delicate place to be. So the Kano State decided to ban content creation on the highway. So each time you're going to a location to film or create your content, find out what laws regulate that area such that you don't go afoul the law, okay? The next one, the Ilu Yamade bank prank. There was a young man that did a prank, I think in Osun State. He dropped a piece of paper that the bank is going to be robbed around, wanting to measure how the bank and everybody will react. It went bad for the poor guy, yeah? Then the last one there is the Domitila case. Who here saw the movie Domitila? Only one hand. Domitila. Who has heard the word Domitila? A few hands, yeah. So I decided to take this one back. You see how this falls outside the demographics that I made earlier. I said the demographic we have is around 20 to 35. The people raising their hand, they are most likely 35 to 40. They are in my own category. Now, Domitila happens to be one of those very classic movies that we started during the early days of Nollywood. Zeb Ejiro was the executive producer of the movie. And then the lady that acted as Domitilla, the title of the movie is Domitilla. It was like a movie portraying Olosho, or what we call Olosho of today. So the lady wanted to trademark the name Domitilla. Meanwhile, Zeb Ejiro, who is the executive producer, owns the script of the movie. And Annie went to do the trademarking. Zeb Ejiro challenged it to say, no, you can't trademark because I own the script. And so the trademark registry cancelled the registration that was done for Annie and gave it to Zeb Ejiro. Almost the same thing happened recently with, what's this movie now on Netflix? This one that had Scar. What's the movie now? That has Scar, that had Iniedo in it. Shantytown. Yes. There was a battle. You guys should try to pay attention to what's going on in the news. Shantytown there was also a trademark issue between Iniedo and the producer of Shantytown. Iniedo is saying we're co-owners of the movie Shantytown. The producer said no, we're not co-owners. I directed those who did the scripting. I own the idea. That I called you to come and invest in the movie does not automatically make you a co-owner of the movie or the title or even the word Scar, which was given to, what's this guy's name? Chidi Mokeme. Those were the two words that led to the dispute between them. So, I mean, I just picked a little. There's so many, a lot. You know the battle between Two-Face and Blackface. There's so many, but I just decided to drop a little of this so you can have an idea of where law and the legal minefield can happen around what you do. In building your team of partners, the way Mr. Emmanuel had said, the way Mr. Tayo has said, you will not forget and leave out someone who understands what the law says. You will not leave out the guy who knows how to run your accounting. You will not leave out the guys who know how to administer. Employ the right people for you, give them letter of engagement, pay them their salaries, all those things. You have to build that team. That's what the word partnership means. It's not just to say you have an idea, let's draft a partnership agreement. That's not where it ends. It goes as far as your team, even the videographer. What agreement do you have with him? How did you decide that you're going to pay him so that you won't have case? You don't want anybody staining your white in public as a content creator, because what you're doing is an image creation for yourself. And you don't want that image tainted in any way. You will only achieve that if you focus on what the law says. Now, I tried to put up what laws and agencies regulate content creation in Nigeria. Recently, Corporate Affairs Commission has come up to say even content creators should register their businesses. Take Brother Shaggy, for instance. Brother Shaggy is just Brother Shaggy. There is no Brother Shaggy Nigeria Limited. Have you ever seen Brother Shaggy Nigeria Limited? No, he's just Brother Shaggy. But on his content, he will advertise Odogwu Bitters, isn't it? He will be paid for advertising Odogwu Bitters, meaning he's making money. He will upload on YouTube. He will be paid by YouTube. So he's operating just the same way a company in Nigeria operates, because he's making income. Whatever Odogwu Bitters pay him as an ambassadorial money is an income. Whatever YouTube pays him is an income. So Corporate Affairs Commission found it relevant and appropriate to tell content creators to now start registering companies. Because they have ways by which they can track that, oh, a certain person is making money. I remember maybe about last year or so, the FIRS sent a bill to, what's the name of this young man that went to this wedding that tied food inside his body? He's based in Kwara. He's also a content creator. The names usually fly out of my head. I can't remember his name now. He was sent bill by FRS to declare tax. So you're supposed to be paying company income tax as content creators, because what comes in for you is income. So now CAC wants content creators to also register their companies. We'll get to the agencies in the next slide. Let's look at the law first. The first one is the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria. You might be wondering, how does Constitution of Nigeria affect me as a content creator? Let's put that straight. Section 37 says that every citizen must respect the right to privacy of another. So if you're creating your content, your videographer is operating, and I'm walking by and you're shooting, you capture me in that video, you post it out. Maybe I'm even doing something I'm not supposed to be doing, and you publish it. Now, your content is out there, but people who know me will see that content and have a perception about me. One way or the other, you have breached my own privacy. The people you bring into that scene, they may have agreed to be in the scene, but I didn't. The lady you did an interview for, the lady who was just sitting somewhere and you took your camera from somewhere and said you started recording her, you post on your own content. If someone sends it to that person, the person can sue you. Like, how? You have to bring it down. If you don't, I'll sue you for breach of what? Privacy. It's regulated under the Constitution. That's the beginning. That's the hallmark of the idea of data protection in Nigeria. Right? Let's look at the Nigerian Data Protection Act side by side the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation. Now, the regulation started in 2019. It was the first time Nigeria tried to regulate what we call data. But then the question is, what's data? I mean, that's not supposed to be difficult, right? Data includes your name, your identity, your information, where you live, what you do, your job, your family members, anything, your pictorial image, anything about you is your data. And your data are in so many places. When you go to obtain your driver's license, you submit information to them. That's your data. You go to NIMC, you submit information to them. That's your data. You go to bank, there's a KYC, know your customer form. You fill it. You've given them your data. So because your data are in so many places and it can be manipulated, it can be exploited. These two organizations, or these two laws, were enacted to now protect every citizen's data from being manipulated. So you, as a content creator, must be careful. You can't just carry someone's form and post it on your content. Maybe their bank form fell, and then you just post it online. Say, so person, the form on the ground, and the person is careless, and you just post it. It's very delicate. Okay? Then Copyright Act. Now, the Copyright Act was just newly updated or reviewed in 2022. We've always had an old one. The new Copyright Act has recognized everybody in this room as content creators now. Initially, the Copyright Act focused only on the idea of literary works. But now, in the Act, there is mention of audio visuals, which now recognizes that people are actually creating what they post on TikTok, on IG, or YouTube. So it's recognized now. Okay, Foreign Exchange Monitoring and Miscellaneous Provisions Act. Now, this is very essential. You know, YouTube is not originally a Nigerian company. Apple Music, Spotify, TikTok is not originally Nigerian. So when you post your content online, on YouTube, for instance, you generate a certain number of views and then they pay you in dollars. It's the Foreign Exchange Monitoring Provisions that regulate it, because you are earning in foreign currency. That act is also important. Patent and Designs Act, Trademark Act, they are in correlation with the Copyright Act. For instance, the something huge I mentioned earlier, you trademark. If you have a title of a script, like for instance, this Brashagi's, what are the lines? Oh yeah, hit me, for instance. He can trademark it. You know, recently there's this Pepsi tried to use one line from a song, big big things or something like that. If you go around, you see Pepsi billboard, big big things, which is drawn from one of the songs that is raining now, big big things. They would like that guy. If he hasn't been the owner of the song, if he has not been approached by Pepsi, he can sue Pepsi. Only if he has registered that line, big big things, the way he said it, the way he wrote it in his lyrics. If he trademarks it, he can make money from it, because it means if Pepsi wants to use it, or now that Pepsi has used it, is either they will approach him, get license from him to use it, pay him certain money as compensation, and then go ahead and use it. Do you understand? Because it's commercial exploitation. All right. So the three of them are synonymous. There's the last one that I skipped. Who's regulating the slide, please? Yes. Now, this last one, law of thoughts. Law of thought is not an act. You see, the other ones I mentioned, they are regulated in a book, Constitution, Copyright Act. But this last one, law of thoughts, is the law that regulates defamation, negligence, assault, battery. So like that Trinity guy that does his content, that pours water on people, slaps somebody, that's assault. He can come under law of thoughts. Okay? So let's quickly go to the next slide. We'll take them on as we, get to the next slide is on agencies, regulatory agencies. I've mentioned Corporate Affairs Commission, that now the Corporate Affairs Commission wants content creators to register their companies. You don't want to fall afoul of that. So as you're starting, ensure you try and register. Then there's also Nigerian Data Regulatory Commission. Can we get to the next slide, please? Nigerian Data Protection Commission. Under these two acts, Nigerian Data Protection Act and Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, we now have a commission that is responsible for data protection. The next slide, please. For data protection in Nigeria. So that if someone breaches your right to privacy or violates your data, you can report, and then that commission can take action on your behalf. Sorry. I was banking on this slide, so I sort of closed mine. All right, so now for the regulatory agencies, the laws automatically gives us those agencies. We have the Nigerian Copyright Commission, the National Information Technology Data Development Agency here in Abuja. They're also relating to what data protection is. Then Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria. I was using Odogwu Bitters and what Brother Shaggy does as an example earlier. Now, typically when you're advertising on TV, this regulatory agency, the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, ACON, they regulate what you can advertise. So as content creators, you don't have the entire freedom or latitude to just go on and advertise how you like and what you like. ACON, as a body, regulates what you do as a content creator. So you must approach them and determine what you can, within the ambit of what you can advise. I know a lot don't do it, but we don't know when it will become a problem. That's why this conversation is being had. So you have an idea, as a content creator, you want to approach an entity to have their product advertised on your content. You must find out from ACON whether what you're advertising falls in line with the things that are allowed and permitted, and what restrictions are available. It's very essential. Then the Nigerian Film, Video and Censors Board is also another very essential agency, because, I mean, we call it content, but what we do is just basically films. Short films, 2-minute film, 1-minute film, 30 seconds film. It's still films nonetheless. So basically, the Nigerian Film and Video Censors Board regulates everything that goes onto our screen. So even if you don't go to them, you can just browse online to check what restrictions they have, what regulations they are passing in terms of what you're doing, so that you know you're within the space of what the law allows and what the law does not allow. Which other one should I pick before I go to the next slide? Now, for Federal Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy, I feel it's important I mention this. Ms. Fari is doing a great job by putting this together. I'm trying to align what she does with what the ministry tried to do, because the creative economy is a new inclusion into our ministry. The next slide. Oh, your time. Just give me a hint as to how many minutes more I have. All right. Now, let's go to the next slide so I don't take so much. Now, the law of contract is a very essential part of what you guys do. Still talking about partnership, engaging your team. I think I've mentioned this earlier to say, whatever member of persons you're bringing into your team, ensure you engage them contract-wise. This is the reason why there's always a fight. If you have everything you're doing in black and white, it reduces animosity between parties. You already know that, oh, from this content you and I are bringing ideas together to create. If we make this amount, this is the portion you're getting. He might be your best friend from the onset, but business doesn't always know friendship when things go sour. But the document is what will help you in having clarity as to what is between two of you, just so that in case he wants to even sue, okay, you have something to fall back on to say, no, this is what we agreed. Even if you want to engage with brand, they want to make you a brand ambassador, you must have a brand ambassador agreement. If they want to advertise a product on your content, have an agreement that regulates the number of times you're going to post, the number of days that you advertise for, how much they'll pay you, the advance, the balance. Have it documented. Don't just have a friendly arrangement and you think everything will go well. What if it goes south? So this is where law of contract comes in. There are several types of contract. I wouldn't need to take so much of time. If they make the slide available for you, you see it all through. Can I run the next slide, please? Now, the steps in creating contract will basically be for you to negotiate, you draft the terms, you review before you sign, ensure you perform your part of that agreement. There are several important clauses, including your consideration, your obligation, when the duration of the contract, the partners, and their scope of what you're going to do. Then confidentiality clause and the dispute resolution clause is also very important. Confidentiality clause, because of what you do, is intellectual property related. Let me go back to the Shantytown narrative that I was giving you earlier. When the producer of Shantytown engaged Iniedo in partnering and investing in the production of Shantytown, the initial agreement that was drafted had certain clauses relating to who will own the copyright of Shantytown. Unfortunately, that contract was never signed. It was never signed. So at the end of the day, the only thing that happened was that Iniedo, Chidi Mokeme, no, sorry, not Chidi, Jude, is it Jude Okoye, the one P-Square guy, Peter Okoye, they all just simply invested in the movie and they got their returns. But, I mean, because there was no contract where it is stated expressly that even though you are an investor, you are also a part owner of the copyright. That never happened. So it is very essential that you define the terms. And then you use confidentiality, like you, the content creators, you have a lot of people working around you. You may have an idea that you've written somewhere. Maybe your makeup artist sees that idea, can carry that idea and go give it to another content creator. Who knows the story of Bola Jumoke, the bread girl, with T.Y. Bello? She was just walking past and then she was caught in the image. It turned out good for her, but if that picture had been posted by somebody else, if he was not a bread seller, maybe a properly educated guy who's in suit, and he walked past and realized, oh, how did I get into this picture? He could have sued T.Y. Bello and said, no, you shouldn't have posted that picture with me inside. Do you understand? So image right protection is very core. Trespass to land. As content creators, you go to several places. You move into a location. Some place might just be a spontaneous location that you didn't plan. If you find yourself in a spontaneous location, it could lead to a case of trespass to land. How do you avoid that? Ensure that even if you find yourself in that space and you've recorded your content, you've moved in, and then the owner comes and says, what are you people doing here? You can quickly negotiate your way around that and draft a soft agreement to say the person gave you permission to be in that space and to publish what you're doing on that space. Else, it will amount to a case of trespass to land. Trespass to chattel. Chattel simply means you use somebody else's car, you walk into another person's movable item, you carry someone's image and bag and all of those things. Any movable item is a chattel. So it could also lead to a case of trespass to chattel when you're creating your content. Trespass to person includes assault, battery, false imprisonment. I've used the narrative of the Trinity Guide to explain this angle, so it's easy to get. Case of nuisance and negligence. When you're creating your content, it could be that you're playing music, you're using a particular location, and neighbors will be like, what are these people always come here? They always come here early in the morning to disturb my sleep. That's nuisance. So you must get their permission, ensure you notify them that, we are going to be doing this within so hours. Kindly give us the permission and consent for us to do so. It will save you from a case of nuisance, because once a person consents, there's no liability. The next one is cybercrime, cyber stalking, cyber bullying. When in an era where, yes, it's social media age, but there are so many people that are still very conservative. Someone like me now, I'm a very conservative person. I don't post my image on Facebook, YouTube, I don't do that. Except I'm doing it under the auspices of my law firm. You will not say anything on me other than what I do with my law firm. I don't have an image on my WhatsApp as my DP. I don't have my face there. So there are still people who are very, very protective of their personal space, right? Now, cybercrime and cyber stalking is in the realm of what you publish about people, such that if you televise or rebroadcast things that tends to oppress somebody else's sense of decency, there are acts on that. Then cases of defamation, I already mentioned examples in passing, then breach of contract, intellectual property right infringement. You pick up an idea of another content creator and use it. It's a problem. We know comedians, you say, no, he stole my joke, he didn't steal my joke. That's the idea. Scripting alone, picking somebody else's script or ideas from the script can also come under intellectual property right. Then terms and conditions on streaming platforms. This is also very essential. You all engage on those platforms, TikTok, IG, YouTube, but I'm not sure a lot of people usually click on the terms and conditions and even go through it. You may not be the one to go through it yourself. Engage a legal practitioner who is already in your team and tell him, okay, we want to also go onto this streaming platform now. Please check their terms, ensure that it's favorable for us so we don't run into trouble. So it's very essential. Regulatory compliance. I just mentioned Corporate Affairs Commission now wanting content creators to now register their names or their companies, or even ACON wanting you to get consent before you advertise or before you put adverts on your content. So then licenses. Whatever you're doing, ensure you obtain license from whoever you're obtaining licenses from. Now, let me quickly put this into passing. There I have two other slides. But before I run into that, intellectual property that you guys have, data protection, I already said so much about this. Everybody's image is essential to them. Their right to privacy is essential, it's protected under the Constitution. So whatever you're doing at all, ensure you obtain the word is consent. It's written somewhere around there, yeah. You must obtain consent from however you can, either in the location, the person, whatever you're doing. This is very essential to protect you from a lot of legal battle. The next slide, please. Data protection, it will save you from action from courts. There's a matter between Falana and Zuckerberg going on now. That one is also in relation to image rights. It will prevent you from action on civil defamation, fundamental human rights. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, the previous slide. This is essential. Now, for skip making documentaries, videos, you need the following agreements. So you guys might need to take this down. I'm rushing through it. I want you guys to have this. It's essential. Crew deal agreements, right agreements interview, release form media, production agreement, location release agreement. Because you do content, you go about your activities in different ways. You should have templates of these bulleted agreements, because once you have them already drafted, once you get to the location and the owner of the location you need him to allow you. He doesn't even need to read the full content. You just explain to him that, sir, the reason why I want you to sign this document is so that we have it documented that you allowed us use your space, and you just sign. So you have it in template already, and that's why that bullet is there. Sorry, next slide, please. Protecting your intellectual property and trade secrets. I already said so much about this. Using the scenario about your makeup artist carrying your script, giving to another content creator, that should do you as an idea of why this is important for you. I'm hoping Fari will make the slide available for you guys. Next slide, please. Patents is still within the same realm. Next slide. Copywriting, I've said so much about that. Copyright includes your musical work. Audiovisual. This audiovisual was not in the Copyright Act before. It was newly included in 2022 when the lawmakers realized how important what you guys do are and why it needs to be regulated. So audiovisual has been added now. Thank you. Next slide, please. Trademarking, I've said so much about that. The next slide. I want to get to the slide that talks about IP as collateral. Yes, fantastic. No, previous, yes. Now, IP as collateral. I mentioned that I was at a symposium about a week or two ago where Afrexim Bank organized. The core of that discussion was how intellectual property rights can serve as a collateral for the Nigerian teeming youth who want to venture into digital economy. And I also mentioned earlier that it has been recognized that content is the new crude, isn't it? In that discussion, one thing that was very paramount was, for you guys who are just starting, maybe somebody like Taoma, Brashagi, Lai Wasabi, maybe they already have money. They already have works that they've maybe gotten money from their family members and created that is already trademarked. You see, once you trademark it, you have an ownership on it. It is the same way you have a land that is in your name. You know, if you go to a bank, you want to loan money, the bank will ask you for collateral, isn't it? Your collateral will most likely be your land. That land will most likely be in your name. Has to be in your name, actually. It's the same way your intellectual property right. So, for instance, something huge, if it's trademarked by Sabinus, that trademark certificate that he will get from something huge, or the big things that will be trademarked, the certificates covering it, it can be an asset usable to loan money from financial institution. How? So just look at what just happened with the Pepsi deal now. We don't know how much Pepsi must have paid the creator of that tag, big things. But that term, big things, featured in a song. It is now going to be used as for Pepsi's billboard advert. And Pepsi is big. How much Pepsi will pay the guy, we don't know. But assuming when the young man wanted to create the song, he had gone to the bank to say, bank, please borrow me money. I want to work on an album. And I have a track that I know will hit. The bank will not most likely believe the guy. Would they? They'll be like, well, even some producers don't know the song that will hit when they are producing. It is until the songs are received. So the only worry I have with the intellectual property being used as collateral is that for now, it's tilting towards those who already have a body of work that they can bank on. So what you guys need to do is, while for now you may not have the resource, you're just starting. So you could use resource from maybe a few family persons, build up a profile, trademark it. It doesn't cost so much to trademark. Once you trademark, then you wait for an avenue. You know, you can also go on streaming platform yourselves. You document how your work is projecting, the trajectory in which it is going. So if within 1 week, you already have a stream that runs into maybe 500 streams, and that 500 stream can generate so amount of money for you, you can have an accountant who will do a projection to say, if I stream the next 1,000, I'll make this amount. So you can bank on your trademark rights on that tagging to say, Based on this, it means it has a followership, because I already have 2,000 followers. Once this hits the next number of streams, it will generate this amount of money. So you can use it to say, I need you guys to loan me this amount of money. The modalities is still being worked on, quite all right. But the beauty of it is, like I mentioned here, the Secure Transaction Immovable Assets Act of 2017 has actually even recognized your IP as an asset, movable asset. So hopefully with time, we can get to a level where you just take your certificate of your trademark on any intellectual property you have, use it to, raise funds, build your next project, and then your next project, and then your next project, and before you know it, you're also a big deal in the world of content creation. Thank you for listening. If there's any question, please, there's a Cream platform I wrote there. I would like you guys to also try and just go online and check Cream platform. I don't know if Nasboy talked about it yesterday when he came here. Nasboy knows about that Cream platform. They all do some things related to it. It's an avenue for up-and-coming content creators, music persons to also source for help and fund or some support in ways to make you guys bigger than you are now. I wish you guys the very best in your journey as content creators. Thank you.